Hi. Salespeople today have so many more channels to market than ever before thanks to the evolution of technology. Old school ways of reaching prospects are still available to most, but salespeople tend to move like sheep to the next new way. Once a new channel becomes known to bring people success, then rightfully everyone will move to use it. Of course they would, that's only natural, right? However, this can pose a little problem. The problem isn't that everyone uses the same method to reach their prospects, it's more that they use the same approach. So salespeople are either trained to do this or just fall into it. It's the trap of using the same approach with a new channel that they would have used with the old channel. So then the target audience start receiving masses of approaches which actually all sound the same, too generic or just too impersonal. And prospects start getting frustrated with the amount of these advances they get. There is no apparent or relevant value in what salespeople can put across at this stage. So when this happens, prospects find ways to limit the influx of these sales approaches. Let me explain what I mean by going through the history as I remember it. Now, at first, salespeople would reach out to customers by post or telephone only. It's a long time ago. But as the number of mail shots increased, people started calling it junk mail because it would almost certainly be thrown away. Then came the phone calls. Phone calls became so popular that people began to place gatekeepers in offices just to field the amount that they were receiving, thus making the task of cold calling even more challenging. Now, in response to this, cold calling became a numbers game for many businesses because they would then outsource or set up call centers using more and more aggressive approaches. They even introduced dialers, and frustrated prospects then were forced to find new ways to avoid those aggressive calls. Control measures were introduced, such as the no names policy or the telephone preference service. Now, these were supposed to influence a more professional approach by phone, but many large call centers might argue that they can only really profit through mass call out. So the numbers game begins, and a battle is constantly being fought right now as well between small business or manager cold callers and the call centers. In the meantime, technology grew and introduced a new way to be able to send mass email campaigns. Now, this has been successful too up until the selling of data, almost like the black market of data where companies were collating and selling personal information for profit without the real consent of its owners. Now, this then led to updates in Data Protection Act and subsequently made the use of data very difficult, making cold callers' job even harder. However, you could say that every time there is a blockade to reach prospects, technology does move on and salespeople do find new ways to reach prospects. The current one being the use of social media networking platforms. LinkedIn is a great example of a platform used by many to connect with prospects, and it works. It is time consuming and requires much attention, but it can work. The sad news though is that salespeople's approaches, unlike technology, haven't really moved on. The approaches on LinkedIn that I have seen are again like the emails and the phone calls before them, still too generic and still too impersonal. Some are quite obviously straight from a textbook or a training room, and even though we have all the tools on LinkedIn to filter the target audience, people don't seem to use it. If this continues, we will simply have another law brought in to prevent salespeople using LinkedIn to sell. So if we want to keep this channel alive, we have to respect it and what it's about. Respect why people join it and take note of what I'm going to talk about in my next video, which is 5 crucial habits for successful leads from social media. Take care. I'll speak to you very soon. Look out for that video.